of the most beautiful cars they've ever made, and it still looks amazing today. This one's kindly lent to us by Richard. It only has 8,000 miles on the clock. These are fetching a huge premium now, anywhere from £125,000 upwards. Now this was made famous by the TV series Miami Vice. They had a white one in that, and it is an iconic car even today. The original Ferrari Testarossa was produced from 1984 until 1991 with a 4.9 litre flat 12 engine producing 385 brake horsepower. It was lighter, more powerful and more aerodynamic than the model it replaced. Those famous side strakes were actually essential to comply with regulations in several countries which banned large opening on cars. Pininfarina's styling resulted from placing radiators either side of the engine to reduce heat inside the cabin. The Testarossa was designed as a Grand Tourer with aircon as standard, and it had a decent front boot and space behind the seats for storage. They sold just over 7,000 cars before they launched the first revision in 1992 named the 512 TR. Now power had increased to 422 brake horsepower, and they are easy to spot as they have much larger alloys. They managed to sell 2,280 units before they released the final version in 1994. This third and final version had 440 brake horsepower and very distinctive styling, notably the removal of the pop-up headlights and the addition of three-piece split rims. However, in 1985, Lamborghini brought out the upgraded version of the Countach, the 5000 QV. Debuted in 1971 at the Geneva Motor Show, the Gandini-designed Countach took the motoring world by storm. The car we're driving today is the LP5000 QV, which was introduced in 1985 and now had a 5.2 litre V12 engine producing 455 brake horsepower. 610 units were produced, with the carburetor version was used for Europe, whilst the US used Bosch fuel injection. The final send-off for the Countach was the 25th anniversary edition, produced in 1988 and styled by the infamous Horacio Pagani, who worked for Lamborghini prior to starting out on his own. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought that looked spectacular until this came onto frame. Look at this. This looks like an absolute spaceship, and they were the same era. So you've got the flat 12 against the V12. That's pumping out 385 brake horsepower. This now has gone up to 455 brake horsepower on the QV model. Now this is one of the most iconic supercars ever to be in existence. This was on everyone's wall. You either had that one on your wall or this one on the wall. I had this one on my wall. So we're going to take both out today. We're going to tell you which one is worse to drive, because obviously they're classic cars. The brakes probably don't work and something's going to break down along the way. So come and join us for the ride. If you live in the UK and are thinking about financing a car over £25,000, then click on the link below, go to the Magnitude Finance calculator, and you can find out in under 60 seconds how much your monthly payments will be. If you like them, apply online or chat with one of their finance experts. Welcome to the Lamborghini Countach 5000 QV. As you can hear, this is pretty loud. This has got a straight through pipe, which makes it insanely loud. Wow. Just imagine driving this in 1985. I mean, it looks like a spaceship now. Imagine 1985 what it looked like. So what's it like to drive though? The front tyres are quite narrow and the rear tyres are enormous. So in a straight line you get a lot of traction. But going around the corners, it doesn't fill you with confidence. Visibility is horrendous. As you can probably see from the design, You've got these tiny little mirrors made out of plastic, which you really can't see anything. And out the rear view mirror, you can't see anything either. You're just consumed by that noise of that V12 5.2 litre engine. You feel like you're in something special, have to say that, but not for the obvious reasons. Now what you can't see is I'm actually driving without my shoes on, because the brake pedal and the accelerator pedal are so close together that you either need racing shoes on or no shoes at all. Lack of power steering makes it quite hard and heavy. Well, brakes, not bad, not bad. Again, don't really fill you with confidence, the brakes. They do stop, but they take quite a big push. The aircon though, does work, surprisingly. It's got a dogleg gearbox. Be very gentle in first gear. So you give it a little bit of gas when you change gears. Cars just don't sound like that anymore, do they? I don't think this would really suit anyone who's quite tall. I'm 5'8" and I fit inside nicely. The owner's also the same height as me, but I think if you were 6 foot or above, you wouldn't fit in this car. It's got a lot of torque, so we are currently in third gear, 3,000 RPM. Put your foot down. It's not insanely fast. It's quite a lot of power for that day though, 455 brake horsepower. Welcome to the Ferrari Testarossa, an iconic car by any standards. They are going up in value, and ironically the first Testarossa that I went in was owned by my friend Russell, who just sold his car through Joe Macari to Mr. TGE. So he's lucky enough to own one of these beautiful classic Ferraris. I think this is one of the best looking cars in the world. Definitely one of the best looking Ferraris. I mean, it still looks stunning today in 2021. And this car first came out in 1984. So it's got the flat 12 engine sitting behind you. This gated gearbox is not that easy to use unless you're used to it. And because it's a dogleg gearbox, you're not always conscious of what gear you're in. Steering wheel looks very big, but it's actually very nice to use. What surprises me about this car the most is that you can't really hear the engine. Let's go into third. Not very loud. You have to give the throttle a little tap before you go into gear, just to help it go into this gated gearbox. So 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth into third, tap the throttle. It's a very, very smooth car to drive. It's very easy to drive. You do have to remember that the back is slightly wider than the front, and it's quite a wide car. We'll put the measurements on the screen now. But it's very easy to drive. It's very comfortable, very, very good visibility. You can see straight out the back. There's nothing impeding your vision. It's a very, very good cockpit for visibility. Reminds me of my old NSX. You can see everything. It's really, really good. In these classic cars, I tend not to really accelerate hard in first gear, just because the engines are fairly fragile, and this car's only done 8,000 miles. The Ferrari Testarossa and the Lamborghini Countach. First, a big thank you to the owners, Rob and Richard, for allowing me to drive these cars. This one only has 8,000 miles on it, and this one is insured for £400,000. So thanks to them for giving me the opportunity to drive two of the sexiest cars on the planet. Now, I don't think there's any debate at all that they both look sexy. Some people love Ferrari, some Lamborghini, some people collect both. Let's go on to the engine. Now this has a straight through pipe. It's a lot louder and a lot more intoxicating, and exactly what you would expect a Lamborghini Countach to sound like. The flat 12 in the Testarossa is not that loud. Now I know that as cars get older and run in more and they do more miles, they can get louder. This one maybe is a bit quiet because it's only done 8,000 miles and it doesn't have an aftermarket exhaust on. But I put the windows down and you can't really hear the exhaust, so much quieter. That's not a bad thing. It means that it's actually better for longer journeys. You don't always want to have a loud exhaust. The steering is a lot heavier in this and it's a lot louder, which means you're probably not going to drive it as often. It's a lot harder to drive this car, but because it's louder and because the steering is heavier, it's a lot more intoxicating to drive. When you're driving this car, it's a lot more comfortable, a lot more relaxed, and you feel like you could drive continents in this car. You definitely couldn't drive continents in this car, but it's a lot more intoxicating. In terms of the looks, I think it's very subjective. I love both of them. I absolutely love both of them. However, this one does have the feel of a kit car inside and outside. If you look at all the finishing touches, it feels like a kit car. This feels a lot better built, despite the fact that they're both from the same era, 1988, 1986. Final thoughts. I think they're both beautiful. I think they are iconic in different ways. I think this is a car that if you bought it, you would use it a lot more than this one. But I don't think you would get out of the Ferrari with the same kind of feeling as this, as if you'd gone to the gym. And also, I think this is a lot more striking to look at. But both iconic cars. I can't see why either of them would be disappointing if you bought them. But one final thought, the owner of this car takes it out 4 times a year and has done about 300 miles in it this year. So I think that goes to show you that this, although it is a beautiful car to look at, it's rather impractical, it's hard to drive. This one is easier to use and therefore you're going to put more miles on it. So if you want something to look good in your garage, if you want something you can actually use, the Testarossa. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We've got loads more car reviews and drag races coming to you soon.